When it comes to who the Arizona Cardinals are going to pick for their defensive coordinator, it's going to come down to one main question: innovation or experience? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast platform. This is the last show before the end of the year officially. Seems like the Arizona Cardinals year ended 4 months ago. Like, when was the last time they played football? 2023? Feels like a long time ago. But this is the last show. We will be looking towards next year. I know the new league year, quote unquote, doesn't technically start for about 6 weeks, but you know, it's getting close. There's a lot of things to discuss today. What are the biggest goals for the new OC and DC as it's directly correlated to the head coach? I'm going to compare it to the last regime to now. Very light. We'll talk about this a lot more throughout the offseason, but I just wanted to do one last button on it before the Arizona Cardinals actually do find their defensive coordinator. Which would players respond to better? Younger, first-time defensive coordinator who's innovative, or an old head who's got he's got his defense, it's worked, he's been gainfully employed for years and years and years, but opposing teams know it, they just need to find somehow how to beat it. And there's two different ways to look about this completely. So when the question is innovation or experience at DC, it also, culminates in one question: which is better for the players also, on top of the head coach? Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So the first name last week that kind of sparked interest, maybe it was on Monday, that piqued interest, was Wink Martindale. Okay, I teased this to the end of last show. I wanted to do a full segment today. So it's like, okay, let's look at experience first. You know who he is. He's been the DC at a high level with the Baltimore Ravens. Didn't have as great of a time with the Giants, and he's been at the college ranks with Michigan. But and I've asked a lot of people that had been around him, either covering the team. Kevin Ostreicher, I talked to him, Locked On Ravens, and they said collectively, he blitzes a lot, and then he blitzes again. And then he blitzes again. And then he covers zeros and blitzes again. So that piqued my interest. It's like, okay, if you've got a skill set like the Cardinals have in the secondary, and you'd expect the pass rush to be more impactful than they were last year. I know that's flippant to say, oh, they're going to be better next year. It's easy to say. 100%, I get that. Not trying to be flippant with that, but you'd expect when healthy, there's going to be more semblance of a pass rush. And you have a guy like that calling the shots. Okay, you can maximize the skill that you have, irrespective of what position they'd be blitzing from. Okay, so that's one. He's an entity. He's an institution. He's a Martindale. You know who he is. And you know that he could be another elder statesman coupled with Nathaniel Hackett to cocoon a young 38-year-old first-time head coach in Michael LaFleur. Okay, so that's a lot of times what the elixir is and what the equation is to give a first-time head coach the best possible chance to succeed. Does it work all the time? No. Is it what will hedge most bets? It'll make it a lot easier for the head coach to just be the head coach. If you've got two guys that you trust on either side of the ball, I understand Nathaniel Hackett's not calling the plays. The defensive coordinator will be. So do you trust a guy 62 years old just to come in and run it, be the head coach of the defense? And Michael LaFleur can be the overarching head coach, obviously, and then, champion the offense. Sounds good to me. That's one option. Now, the downside to that is they've seen the defense. There's empirical evidence on how to beat Wink Martindale's defense. A lot of it has to do with the personnel and, how well they can execute, how well you can get to the quarterback and pressure him and force turnovers and, things like that. But the defense. The other side, the innovative side. Dino Vasso, from the Texans. Been with the Texans the last few years. He's had multiple stops elsewhere. Aubrey Pleasant had myriad stops, starting in Washington all the way to Cleveland. The Rams, he was a cornerback coach from 2017 to 2020. He was a DB and pass game coordinator with the Lions in 21 and 22. Packers offensive consultant in 22 as well. And then the Rams, the last 3 seasons, he was a DB and pass coordinator, and then assistant head coach and pass game coordinator last year. So both of those guys, Dino and Aubrey, have a lot more experience in the secondary. So does that mean that Dino will bring over, Aubrey will bring over a linebacker coach to run the defensive front? Do they know enough schematically, which I'm sure they do, to be able to run a full-fledged defense? And the innovation is there where you're going to have, some D'Amico Ryans defense with Dino Vasso coming over. You're going to have some Chris Shula, etc. defense with Aubrey Pleasant coming over. But defense is so much different than offense. Hashtag analysis. That's 3 and 2 shows. That's got to be a record. It's so much different because a lot of it is reactionary. You're not calling the play. Obviously, they have play calls on defense. But you don't know what's going to be run against you in that specific set, unless obviously you watch your film, you're prepped for things with different looks and things like that, different checks, of course. But a lot of it is feel. A lot of it is instinct. A lot of it on defense is putting players in a position to succeed, and they've got to go win. On offense, these are the plays. This is how you're going to leverage a weakness of a defense. This is why you check out of it if you see a safety dropping down. This is what you do if you see a light box. But you're calling the plays. You got multiple plays to call. When you're backpedaling on defense, it's completely different. So with innovation comes scarcity of information, scarcity of film, the element of surprise. The element, it's not even surprise, it's the element of the unknown. What's this defense going to look like? It really tests the brain power of defensive coordinators and how prepared they are and how they can leverage the weakness of opposing offenses. It's how you can be proactive on the defensive side of the ball that makes a great defensive coordinator if they execute properly. So there's completely different schools of thought here. New wave, new NFL, new defenses to go along and try to stop new offenses, or do you go more relic status? It's like, hey, I've been a DC for a long time, and it doesn't necessarily need to be Wink Martindale. I mean, throw Jim Schwartz in there. Throw just another older gentleman who's been a DC for a long time, and that implemented defense. Is that going to be a better complement to a first-time play caller in Michael LaFleur with his innovative offense? But also, what's better for him as a head coach? Do you give up innovation a little bit so you have that rock in a 60-year-old dude who's been around the block 1,000 times to be able to coach you on the ins and outs of this game from a coaching perspective? Is that more important? I almost say yes. I would say probably yes. Because it's something that the Cardinals can't afford to slide backwards. Thank you. I'll be here all week. The Cardinals can't afford to slide backwards. The thing you need to get right is this coaching staff being prepared for week 1. So I know it's kind of I don't know. It's like taking the lump sum in the lottery instead of just having the annuity. So you have $1 million a year for whatever it is for the rest of your life, whatever it is for the rest of your life. You take a third of it. It's like, just give it to me now. It's like, well, yeah, you get it, but it also could be so much better if you wait. which would be taking in the younger, innovative guy and not not an older guy like Wink Martindale. But what's better for the head coach and what's overwhelmingly better for the team? That's the tough part. It's like, do you take that leap? You bring in a first-time DC again? Or can the Cardinals not afford to not play it safe? So early on this. But man, it's going to be fascinating because it's not just going to tell the tape for what the defense is going to be, but it's also going to tell the tape of how much support Michael LaFleur is going to have. Is Aubrey Pleasant, knowing Michael LaFleur for so long, going to trump the experience that a guy that's been in the NFL for 30 plus years can bring? These are all open-ended right now. I just think it's a fascinating conversation. What would be more important for the players to respond to on the defensive side of the ball? Do you want an innovative guy? Or do you want a guy who's been around the block, who knows all the ins and outs of this game and just needs to plug you into his system for the Cardinals to hopefully thrive? Fascinating. We'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by ZocDoc. It's hard to find doctors. It's hard finding them. Sometimes they look like a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network, nearby, has availability, but also you want a doctor who listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly. And that kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. ZocDoc makes the process simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. You can see real-time availability and book instantly, no phone calls, no waiting on hold, anything like that. And whether you want to go in person or do a video visit, ZocDoc makes it easy either way. Stop putting off doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper, wasn't the right fit, you know how important it is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored job boosts your post to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. Here, it will tell you exactly why. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posts directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show gets a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Look at my big dumb face. Hit the notifications. You know the drill, man. Join the Everydayers Club. Link is in the description. Ad-free audio content. Members only Discord. We're going to be blowing it out, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. People are starting to join. Let's get a huge contingent in there. We can talk Cardinals all day, every day through the Discord. Yeah. It'll be fun. Come on. So listen, this isn't exact, of course. This is all speculative and forward pacing, future pacing, whatever you want to call it. It's an important distinction to make. Which is more important for Michael LaFleur? Somebody who's done it before or somebody who he knows that has the runway to be able to be a great DC in this league? That's what they're going to have to determine. And not only are they going to have to determine that for the coach and, the mini ecosystem around him with his OC and DC, but also for the players. Which avatar is best fit for the roster as currently constructed and who they're looking to add this offseason. Do you want to bring in a dude who's got a proven system over, a decade or whatever it is, been a DC here, there, and the other place, to where you just plug and play and you hope you can elevate? I mean, Jim Schwartz, pretty good defense in Cleveland. They've won way more games than they should have with the quarterback play that they had. And then Wink Martindale, I know that he's been out of his Ravens heyday from, I think it was 2018 to 2022 or something like that, around that, the end of the teens to the early 20s of the 20. Can I have that sentence back? Late 2010s to early 2020s. Yep. But then you think, like, the juice that Nick Rallis brought was fun. 2024 defense was fun. It wasn't great all the time. The roster was significantly better in 2025 than it was in 2024, but on defense. But, everybody was hurt. So, give 19 points a game during the first 5 weeks. They played 3 playoff teams in those first 5 weeks. So it's tough because you want to sell flying around young, hungry. When it comes to that kind of thing, you would think you'd have an up-and-coming, smart defensive mind, been around the block in different ways, pass game coordinator, associated head coach, in good programs with good defenses, good organization with good defenses and things like that. Dino Vasso, Aubrey Pleasant. Aubrey Pleasant has the inside track because, he's been with Michael LaFleur. So you sell that to a bunch of 25 and unders on the Cardinals defense in key positions. It's like, man, you can grow with this guy. They're gonna show these innovative offenses things they haven't seen before. They're gonna show these innovative offenses what a proactive, new age 2026 defense in the NFL looks like, which is wildly, intoxicatingly enticing. Now, of course, the roots and the foundation of any defense comes from somewhere that's been substantiated for a long time. Same with every offense. Mike Shanahan hasn't been a head coach in the NFL for, 15 years? And his offenses are run more than they're not. Some variant of. But when it comes to the players and it comes to, like, what happened last year with 3-14, and it comes to what are the next couple years at least going to look like, you've got to have this ironclad plan of what's going to work. So that would lead me to think, Old Faithful, you go with that. You go with the old dude. Older gentleman. Where this is a plug-and-play defense. And all we're going to do is practice this defense. It's not going to be specifically different looks. Obviously, things with scheme and stuff like that, depending on how the offense lines up, changes things a bit. It tweaks things every snap. But in the confines of this ironclad defense, this stenciled defense, the antithesis of what Nick Rallis' defense was, then you truly have that head coach of the defense, somebody who's led multiple defenses before from this position with success, who's elevated and developed talent like Wink Martindale was so good at in Baltimore specifically. There is not an expiration date on that. Just because he didn't do well with the Giants and now he's with Michigan, just because it's, 5 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, 5 to 8 years ago, it doesn't matter. There's no expiration date on being able to develop talent. There's no expiration date on getting through to younger players. There were a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds on that team also, and he was in his 50s. It's the same thing. So while the new and exciting and innovative and hungry and unknown defensive entity that could be ushered in by a first-time DC with the credibility and the resume, that's intoxicating. It's the more exciting option. But that's not to say that that's unsafe and bringing a dude like Wink Martindale in would be safe. That's not what I'm trying to divulge here. That's not what I'm trying to explain here. It's like you want what's going to come in and have the best chance of working with all the metrics and models and whatever theoretical algorithm you want to use. What's going to work best? It doesn't matter what's, quote, safe or, quote, unsafe. Sometimes you're ball and chaining yourself in a safe instance to mediocrity. And sometimes you're ball and chaining yourself to lunacy and idiocracy by going unsafe. So it's not a matter, I don't like those labels of, oh, this guy's old, he's got a defense, that's the safe choice. Neither of them are safe. You've got to find the right one that not only, it's not about fitting the personnel specifically. Personnel changes every year. It's about fitting what you want the defensive culture to be. But in this situation, you're also determining what's best for the, as I mentioned, the mini cocoon around a first-time head coach. Do you bring in the dude who he knows, who's never been a DC before, in Aubrey Pleasant? Do you bring in a guy who's ushered in? He's one of the cogs in the best defense in football last year, Dino Vasso, and with Houston. Or do you bring in an older guy who is an institution, who sets up his defense and runs it? They just got to figure it out. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. What are the biggest goals for both the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? And yes, I know Nathaniel Hackett's not calling the plays. It doesn't matter. It's still a big question for both sides. What are their goals going into 2026 and beyond? What should they be? We'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by, you know, those guys and gals at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. And Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by Home Chef. As the new year gets going, you're going to be like me. I know it. A lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays for or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Save time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. Wow. Can't believe the big game's on Sunday, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Free agency is right around the corner. The new league year is the second week of March, I think. Like, the draft, April's going to be here before you know it. We have so many things to talk about. There's so many exciting things to discuss. Join the Everydayers Club. We can converse about this team in Discord 24 hours a day. I want to make a community here. I'd love to start building the relationship. Check it out. The link is in the description. What are the biggest goals for both the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator as directly correlated to what we witnessed from Nick Rallis and Drew Petzing? This is expecting Nick Rallis to not be the defensive coordinator for the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals moving forward. Offensively, and you got to group Michael LaFleur in with this, is getting all three wide receivers involved, including all three pass catchers involved. The run game right now is kind of TBD because you don't know who the running back is going to be. It's going to be Trey Benson, but is James Conner going to be back? A lot of discussions to be made. There's plenty of time to have those discussions, but it's getting Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Wilson involved. Those are the biggest goals. That's the biggest goal for me. That's it. That's it. If you have an offense that can facilitate touches for those three guys or give opportunities for those three guys with some sort of balance, that is a huge leg up for the Cardinals moving forward. I think that's obvious, and also describing what we witnessed, especially the second half of last season when Marv was healthy, it's got to be better. Some of it's on Marv, of course. Some of it was Michael Wilson taking the bull by the horns with his first real opportunity in this league, of course. Trey McBride's going to be Old Faithful. Then you've got to find wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 looks for Marv and Michael Wilson. Who's wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2? We won't know. You hope it's Marv. You hope they're nipping at each other's heels. Like I said, going into last season, you were hoping that Marv was nipping at Trey McBride's heels. That wasn't the case. It was Michael Wilson. For the OC and Michael LaFleur, the biggest other goal outside of that is to have not only an identity, which they will. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. Is it going to be the Sean McVay offense, really? Is it going to be a little more Shanahan-y? But what we know from the Sean McVay offense is there's balance. Always. It feels like they run 30 more plays than every other team. It's crazy. It's like Matthew Stafford threw for 400 yards. Oh, and Kyron Williams also got 20 touches. How is that possible? Identity and balance. Identity and balance. We never saw the run game and the pass game work in synchronicity. They were two 1099 employees that happened to work for the same company. That was it. There was play action, sure, but it wasn't setting things up. It wasn't, throwing the ball to set up the run. It wasn't vice versa. You tried to run the ball more, and they did, but when that didn't work, everything crumbled. That's got to change. Defensively, they've got to be feared in some form or fashion. What we saw through the first, even into the bye week, even after the bye, even through week 9, this was a very, very, very good defense. 19 points per game on average through the first 5 weeks. They gave up under 30 to Indy and Green Bay, both of which looked to be deep playoff run candidates in week 6 and 7. And then they pretty much blanked the Cowboys. I think they gave up 6 points. There was a defensive touchdown or a blocked punt for a touchdown, I think, against Dallas. I'm getting old. That was a long time ago. It was week 9. And then the wheels fell off. But that Cardinals defense was something. That Cardinals defense was feared. That Cardinals defense needed to be schemed around. That's whoever comes in as DC needs to implement. Whether it's a blitz all night, Wink Martindale, or if it's an Aubrey Pleasant who's going to come in and bring his more innovative, futuristic defense with touches of Chris Shula and other guys who he's coached around in his career, it's got to be fearful. It's got to be something that is not, this is it, which is difficult, but we see it every year. We saw it in our backyard with both the Rams and the 49ers. Their defense didn't keep them from losing, didn't keep them from winning games, regardless of who was healthy and who was injured. Hats off to Robert Saleh. I know it wasn't great down the stretch. I know it wasn't great. At times down the stretch, they had no Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa for the majority of the season, and they continued to thrive. The Rams had injuries, had a lot of young, questionable talent on the back end. They were able to thrive, and they made the NFC Championship game. They had injuries too. The Cardinals, once injuries happened, everything stopped. 40 burgers ensued. Now, it's not necessarily fair entirely. The Rams have good pass rush. The offense for both of those teams were able to produce, were able to put up points, were able to have sustained drives. They were both able to run the ball very effectively, which the Cardinals weren't able to do. So it's not just one thing. It's not like, oh, the defense was bad. It's like, no, the Cardinals couldn't run the ball, couldn't have sustained drives, and then the defense got tired and they're human beings and they ended up giving more points. On top of the fact that they weren't playing as a cohesive unit. So both, and this is very, very broad, very general, but I think going into the last game of the year, having one little thing to take away that from as we branch over from the end of last season to the new regime and a new OC, a new head coach, and new DC, whoever it's going to be, hopefully they'll have a decision the next week or so. The OC and Michael LaFleur need to instill an identity with this team, balanced attack, where the run game plays with the pass game, and then Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson all need to be able to eat. Defensively, fear. Fear needs to be instilled in opposing offenses. A scheme needs to be set to where, and talent development needs to be set to where even if injuries happen, they don't completely fall off a cliff. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I will talk to you on Monday, the first show of not officially the new year, but unofficially the beginning of the 2026 season. I'll talk to you then.